Hey English learners, picture this. You're in a meeting and somebody says, we need to roll out the new system, but if it breaks down, we'll have to call it off. You understood every single word, but combined, you really struggle to understand the meaning. Does that sound familiar? Today I'm going to break down 7 phrasal verbs that you can use in the workplace and in business interactions that native speakers, well, we actually use that quite often. So by the end of this video, you'll sound like you've been living in a native English speaking country for years. Let's dive in. The first phrasal verb is roll out. Now, you might think that this means to literally roll something out, like a red carpet when someone arrives at a movie premiere, right? But instead, to roll out means to launch something, to start something. For example, maybe like an initiative or a scheme or a plan or a system. Some daily conversation examples would be, Netflix is rolling out their new password sharing rules next month. Or, my company's rolling out flexible work hours. Or finally, they're rolling out the red carpet for the VIP guests. So yes, you can use it literally, like at a red carpet event or a movie premiere. But notice that the last one, roll out the red carpet, it does mean to give someone special treatment. Whereas the first 2 examples are actually introducing a new plan or launching a new system. A common mistake that people often make is that they confuse roll out with roll over. Roll out means to introduce or to launch, but roll over means to like roll over in bed, to move and to turn in bed or extend a deadline. So a great example to use in business would be the company rolled out the new policy. The second phrasal verb that you must know is break down. Break down. And breakdown is quite a unique or kind of like a strange one because breakdown actually has 3 separate meanings. And this trips up everyone, even advanced learners. The first one is that it means to stop working. So for example, your car breaks down or the printer broke down again. The second meaning is to explain something in further detail, to go that little bit deeper into your discoveries or explanations. For example, can you break down the budget for me from last month? Or let me break down why this strategy works so well for us. And meaning number 3 is like an emotional collapse. For example, she broke down when she heard the news about her husband's death. Or your boss might say to you, don't break down under pressure. You've got this. A common mistake is that many learners actually only really know the machine stops working meaning. Whereas instead, in business, we use breakdown for analysis all the time. I guess what a lot of students ask me is, how do we know when to use which? Well, the pro tip here would be to focus on the context or the situation. For example, your car will generally break down means that it has like some, engine failure. Whereas the numbers, if we want to break down the numbers, here it really just means that we want to explain something in further detail. That brings us to phrasal verb number 3, which is to follow up. And follow up is absolutely essential in professional English. Why? Because it means to continue or check on something that you started earlier. So some effective daily conversation examples would be, I'll follow up with you next week about the project. Or did you follow up on that job application? Or even a great one would be, the doctor wants to follow up after your surgery. So you can use it in those situations. As a noun, it can also be used as like follow-up email. So for example, I'm sending a follow-up email, don't forget to check. Another one could be, this is a follow-up to our conversation. Those ones are great for email English. A critical piece of information that I have to share with you is that we shouldn't say follow up with someone on something. Instead, we have to say follow up with someone about something. So for example, I'll follow up with you tomorrow, or I'll follow up with you about the meeting. So that's something that we really need to remember. Number 4 is to call off. Call off is great because it actually just means to cancel something. And you'll notice that with a lot of native speakers. So instead of just using the textbook word cancel or whatever it might be, as native speakers, we love to actually use phrasal verbs because they convey or they display a really exact meaning of something without actually saying that word itself. Some daily conversation examples would be, they called off the wedding due to rain, or the strike was called off after negotiations, or even, should we call off the picnic? It looks like it might snow. Some bonus use cases would be if you want to call off an attack. For example, you call off your dog from attacking somebody, or you could even say, the boss called off the investigation. A common mistake that students often make is that they confuse call off with call out. Call off means to cancel, whereas call out means to shout loudly or even to criticize someone publicly. And most commonly, we would use this in the workplace. We might say the boss called off the meeting, or the marketing manager had to call off the meeting because she was sick. Number 5, which is a classic one, and if you've made it this far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell, because it really does help the algorithm and push the right videos to the right people. So again, thank you so much for all your support over the last few weeks and months, because as you've noticed, I've hit over that 1,000 subscriber mark, which is pretty incredible for the last 6 to 9 months, because yeah, you guys have just been honestly incredible with showing your support. So again, thank you so much. And I really appreciate everyone commenting on the videos as well. But let's get back to our phrasal verbs. So phrasal verb number 5, which is figure out. Figure out is probably the most useful phrasal verb for problem solving, because it means to understand or to solve something. For example, I can't figure out how to use this app, or we need to figure out a solution to this problem, or did you figure out what went wrong in last week's meeting? Or even, I'm trying to figure out if he or she is telling the truth. For more advanced learners, some great examples of how this is used would be, she's a hard person to figure out, meaning difficult to understand. Or I've got it all figured out, meaning I have a plan or a solution for us or for myself. But those last two are generally for advanced learners. And so, like I recommend with all of my videos and classes that I teach, is stick within your learning level. So find those little challenges, but don't push yourself too much that it's too difficult and you lose interest. A key mistake that a lot of learners make, which is that they don't separate figure and out when using an object pronoun. So for example, they might say, I need to figure it out, versus I need to figure out it. The right way would be, I need to figure it out, or I need to figure out the problem. Moving on to phrasal verb number 6, which is put together. Now, put together has multiple meanings, but they're all about combining or assembling things. So the first meaning is to physically assemble something. For example, I spent 3 hours putting together this desk, or can you help me put together this puzzle? The second meaning is to organize or even to create. For example, she put together an amazing presentation. We're putting together a team for the project. Would you like to volunteer? Or even, let me put together a proposal for you. And meaning number 3 means well organized. So we use this here as an adjective. For example, the CEO is really put together, meaning that she's well dressed or well organized. But remember, don't confuse put together with get together, because put together is to assemble or to organize, whereas get together means to meet socially. And we can do that after work. Moving on to phrasal verb number 7, which is to check in. Again, the traditional meanings for this would be to check into a hotel or a B&B. So you could say something like, I need to check in at the hotel, or what time do you check in for your flight? So check in, this one really has evolved a lot with social media as well. The more modern social meanings for this would be, for example, I'm just checking in to see how you're doing. And here it's casual contact, but you might say you're using it to show some concern for a friend or a coworker. Another example would be, let's check in about this next week. So here we're using it more like to follow up. Another great example is, I checked in at the new restaurant on Instagram, which means here to share your location. More professional use case examples will be, I'll check in with the team daily, or check in with me before you leave. All right, so those are some key ones to remember. Also, don't confuse check-in with check-out. They're very different. Check-in means to arrive or make contact, whereas check-out means to leave or examine. So I guess the key thing here to focus on is to look at the traditional meaning of something, but then also to use it in terms of the modern or more social meanings that we find. So let's quickly recap our 7 phrasal verbs. First one, roll out, means to launch something new. Breakdown means to stop working or explain in detail or even some emotional collapse. Follow up means to continue or to check on something. To call off means to cancel. Figure out means to understand or solve. Put together, assemble or organize. And finally, check in means to register, arrival, or make contact. So here's your challenge now as a viewer. Use at least 3 of these phrasal verbs in your next conversation this week. Don't wait until you find the right moment. Use it this week, tomorrow, today. Use it as soon as possible, because what happens is the longer we wait, the less likely we are to actually use these phrasal verbs. And that's a key tip that I've shared in some of my other videos about how to improve your English. Comment below and tell me which ones you used, how you used them, and which ones you found most useful. Also, don't forget to share a sentence with using one of them. I think that would be really nice. So if this helps you sound more natural in English, make sure to like, share with other friends or coworkers that are learning English for the workplace or even just for daily conversation, because again, it all adds up. Learning English really compounds over time as well. And remember that English fluency isn't just about learning the textbooks or grammar notes or rules or exceptions. It's basically about using the language that people actually speak. So those are your 7 phrasal verbs that will help transform your English. That's it for me from this video. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.